Hi there, everyone. My name is Christian Eschbach, and welcome to another one of my album reviews. I just did Let There Be Rock. I wanted to follow that up with a little more AC/DC, so let's get into Powerage. I have heard this referred to as AC/DC's best album. Keith Richards, specifically, I believe, said that it was AC/DC's best album. He may have said it was one of rock and roll's best albums. I don't remember the exact quote. I've heard many people say that this is one of their favorite albums, and I believe it or not, this is one of the very last AC/DC albums I ever picked up because I wasn't overly into this album. I remember borrowing it off of Buddy and giving it a listen to, and all right, whatever. So let me just get into this album. All right. Album opens up with Rock and Roll Damnation. This is typical AC/DC style, but there really isn't anything that stands out to me on this one. The album opens up, it goes. I'm not paying that much attention. Gets to track 2, I kind of look up a little bit. This is Down Payment Blues. It's basically, when I'm listening to it, all I'm hearing is high voltage, and the solo feels like TNT. It still has its own song, it's still its own song, but really, you can really hear those two elements in this song. That happens a lot throughout this album, actually, where there definitely feels like their throwbacks or the recycling that everybody calls AC/DC out for. This album does a lot of riff recycling from the Dirty Deeds the Dirty Deeds High Voltage albums on the North American releases. 2 or 3 songs specifically. Part of that is the way that the bass is being played, how it's being done basically on straight 8s most of the time. The do 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 do, the classic kind of AC/DC stuff. But I should mention this is the remaster, so the mixes could be a little different. It's really clean. You can really hear the bass crisp pops up through the mix. Really gives it that familiarity the whole way through. This is one of those songs where I am willing to admit I may have overlooked this one when I listened to it in the past. Then we get to Give Me a Bullet. Another song that I really feel I may have overlooked a little bit. This is a little bit more basic 4 on the floor rock and roll. It's not so much what I would call a hidden gem, but it is definitely a solid album track. Riff Raff. Okay, I like the guitar solo section. And what some people call the best parts of this song, I consider it the worst. To me, it's like AC/DC's channeling their inner Chuck Berry, which, nothing against that. But, and there is nothing against it because it works, but his influence is so clear on the band, but it feels like it's too much, almost like it's a forced Chuck Berry homage. That's then we get to Sin City. This is one of those songs that's grown on me over the years, but it's grown on me because of the live renditions of it over the years. I'm not a huge fan of this song on its own while listening to the album, and it's basically, to me, kind of Dirty Deeds meets High Voltage. And it's a good tune, but it's not a song that I'm excited about, What's Next to the Moon? All right. This one's been horribly overlooked. This is definitely a deep album cut for sure. Yeah, it sounds like everything else I've kind of pointed out where it feels like it's borrowing kind of pieces from other stuff or whatnot. But this is one of those songs where I really feel like I've personally done an injustice to this song, not listening to it more over the years. Or even that AC/DC's done an injustice by not playing it live over the years. It's kind of interesting. This is one of those ones where I think if it had been played live, it probably would have gotten a lot more love. Gone Shooting is there on the album. Up to My Neck in You. This is another one of those songs I was never overly into. I know it's got its fans. I know it's got its, definitely people will be like, oh man, it's a great song. How could you not really be into that song? It just kind of, at this point, feels kind of basic to me. And then the album finishes off with Kicked in the Teeth, and this is basically Let There Be Rock, except for a down and out attitude. I get why some people love this album. There are some elements in here. Like, one of the reasons why Keith Richards loves this album so much is, and I've heard this said from other places as well, Bon Scott really comes into his own as the lyricist, as a lyricist at this point. And it's very, very true. Lyrically, there is more of a grown up sophistication, sort of, to the lyrics. It's not all "can I sit next to you, girl" and "ooh baby," kind of, tongue in cheek, a little bit dirty, naughty. There's the problem with this particular album, I think, is it leans too hard into the, as opposed to being the sexual partying side of rock and roll, it leans more into the dirty bars, dirty pool bars, barroom brawling, fighting, arguing, the drunken, the parts about drunkenness I always kind of get annoyed by, man. When I drink, I just want to have a fun time, a good time. I don't want to go out and necessarily beat people and, shit like that. This is kind of where this album kind of feels like it's going. It's a little more hostile, a little more. Anyways, those are my thoughts. Those are my opinions. It's not a bad album. I will say that I have grossly overlooked this album over the years after listening to it this time through, and that I believe I've underrated this album over the years. Eventually, I'm going to get around to doing my AC/DC breakdown because, I've got the complete collection, and I believe, I have to double check, but I believe this finishes up me covering the Bon Scott era of AC/DC. I think I've covered everything from Bon Scott at this point. So, just got to do the Brian Johnson era, which I've done a few of already as well. I don't know, we'll have to see. Anyways, folks, these are my thoughts, these are my views, these are my opinions. Let me know what your thoughts, views, and opinions are. That is what the comment section is for. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell for notifications. That helps out both of us. Peace, love, take care. Oh yeah, and there's a link that goes to Patreon. You can throw me money that way.